All right, let's talk about the one number, the single most important number that can make or break any new business. It's the key that unlocks everything, turning a confusing mess of costs and prices into one simple, clear target. So you've got a killer idea, right? You're ready to go. But what's the real test to see if it'll actually work? It's not about hype. It's not about social media followers. Nope. It all comes down to one critical number, your survival number. Let's go find it. To make this all feel a bit more real, let's meet Jason. He just graduated with a degree in horticulture, and he has this big dream of selling amazing, high-quality bell peppers. He's definitely got the green thumb, but does the business idea actually make financial sense? So he starts jotting down his costs, and boom, suddenly he's staring at this wall of numbers. There's rent for the greenhouse, some upgrades, supplies for each pepper, utilities for each pepper, and then the price he thinks he can sell them for. And the big question just hangs there. How on earth do you make sense of all this? Is this even a good idea? Okay, so the very first step here is to take this jumble of numbers and start putting them into buckets. We need to turn all that confusion into some real clarity. And here's the key. You have to realize that not all costs are created equal. They really fall into two main categories. You've got your fixed costs, those are the bills you have to pay no matter what, and your variable costs, the ones that change depending on how many peppers you actually grow. Let's start with the fixed ones. These are the costs that show up every single month like clockwork, whether Jason grows 1 pepper or 1,000 of them. For him, that's the rent on the greenhouse and the monthly payment for his upgrades. So add those two together and you get $1,200. This means Jason starts every single month $1,200 in the hole. That's his baseline. Before he can even think about making a profit, he's got to cover that massive bill. Okay, now for the other side of the coin, variable costs. These are the costs that scale up or down with production. The more peppers he grows, the more he's going to spend on stuff like seeds, fertilizer, and utilities. The cost per pepper stays the same, but the total bill changes. So when we add up his supplies and utilities, it turns out that every single bell pepper costs Jason 40 cents to produce. This number is absolutely crucial because it tells him the direct cost of actually creating his product. All right, we've got the costs sorted out. Now for the fun part. Let's see how they stack up against the money he's bringing in. This is how we built the path to profit. And that brings us to this really important idea, the break-even point. Just think of it as the magic moment. You're not making money yet, but you're not losing it either. It is the official starting line for profitability. And the math behind it is just beautiful. It's so simple. Your break-even point is where the total amount of money you bring in, your revenue, is exactly equal to the total amount of money you've spent, all your costs combined. So now we can actually turn Jason's whole business into a pretty simple algebra problem. We'll just use X to mean the number of peppers. That means his revenue is $1.20 times X, and his total costs, well, that's the $1,200 base plus 40 cents for every single pepper he grows. So the equation is all set up. We are ready to find Jason's magic number, the one single target he needs to hit every month. And there it is. When you solve the equation, you get 1,500. This is the one number Jason needs to know, 1,500 peppers. So what does that number actually mean? Well, think about it like this. If Jason sells 1 pepper less than that, $14.99, he's lost money for the month. If he sells exactly 1,500, he's at zero, no profit, no loss. He broke even. And the very next pepper he sells, number 1,501, that's pure profit. Now, the algebra is great and all, but honestly, there's an even more intuitive way to think about this. It's called the contribution margin, and it really shows you how every single sale you make helps pay down those big bills. Here's how simple it is to figure out. You just take the selling price of 1 pepper, $1.20, and you subtract the variable cost to grow it. That's 40 cents. The result? 80 cents. That is your contribution margin. So here's the cool part. For every single pepper Jason sells, he gets 80 cents that he can use to chip away at that $1,200 mountain of fixed costs. Every sale becomes a real, measurable step toward being profitable. And this leads to a fantastic shortcut. You just divide your total fixed costs by the contribution you get from each item you sell. So for Jason, that's $1,200 divided by 80 cents. And look at that. We land right back at our magic number, 1,500 peppers. But look, break-even analysis isn't just about finding one number and calling it a day. No way. Its real power is in helping you plan for the future by asking, what if? And this is where it gets really powerful. What happens if his costs go up? Let's say his supplies get a little pricier, and his variable cost jumps up by just 10 cents a pepper. Seems like a tiny change, right? Wrong. Suddenly, his break-even point jumps all the way up to 1,715 peppers. That tiny little change makes a huge difference in his monthly target. And this right here is the whole transformation. By understanding these numbers, Jason is no longer just a hopeful gardener crossing his fingers. He's an informed business owner. He can see what's coming, he can adjust his strategy, and he can make smart, strategic decisions. So we've seen how this one powerful tool gave Jason a roadmap, taking him from total uncertainty to a clear, actionable plan. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If you were to apply this same analysis to your own project, your side hustle, or that big idea you've been dreaming about, what would it reveal to you?